Hello everybody, welcome back to RP1 with the new Sol Beta. Today we are doing 3 free flights, try saying that 5 times fast, and we are not contractually obligated on any of them, and I think that's what's going to make them so much fun today. I am starting off on the runway rather than air launching above the ocean because we are actually going to be flying inland today. I want to take this T-38 Talon replica they call the Supersonic Jet Trainer. It is one of the stock crafts that comes in the Realism Overhaul mod, both in just in the regular mod. It doesn't matter if it's Sol Beta, RSS Reborn, or Standard. But nonetheless, we are easily airborne because this is a very well designed craft. I still have some learning to do. Thank you to the helpful commenter who provided me with another great tutorial on planes. I am really excited for today's mission because primarily because of the fact that it's not under contract. We can kind of do whatever we want to do. And today I want to take a look at the parallax continued aspect. I showed off some of it in my, how to install the Sol Beta video, but we have yet to see it for ourselves in this series. But aerobatics, I was pretty happy with this. We are in real time. Consequences matter here, and we are going to be flying low enough that quick saves are not going to be possible throughout this entire trip. So, gotta be careful. Go ahead and pull ourselves lower. So the idea here is I'd like to see some of the scatter provided by the parallax continued. That's one of the big differences between RSS Reborn and Sol Beta, is that Sol Beta gets to take advantage of all the upgrades that parallax continues includes, including more advanced collisions, which I'm actually looking very forward to. We'll look at some of that a little bit later as we get closer. I am a little disappointed that we haven't found any scatter yet. We're this far out from the KSC. I feel like we should have seen something. This basically looks like a standard RSS map at the moment, especially with no clouds in the sky. I feel like I'm not playing the same game that I was before. Does feel a little strange to be playing RP1 and not be focusing solely on the missions ahead and maximizing our time by flying in this direction. I feel like I'm playing hooky a little bit. I'm supposed to be hard at work, and out here I'm just flying around looking at trees. But here we are, finally have some scatter, some beautiful little palm trees. Forgive my reuse of the word, but scattered around, a nice little uneven amount. I'm sure this is procedurally generated, but it's nice and fun. I decide I want to get as low as possible. Just fly right over the treetops. And the thing is like I mentioned before, there's a lot more collision aspects here, and meaning that every single one of these trees, every single part of the tree has collision effects. So if I were to clip my wing or any part of our craft in the slightest, it would take the full impact. So, and like I mentioned before, we are too low in the altitude to actually quick save on any of this, and I'm going to try to play with my consequences, so we will have to see how we handle this flying. But beautiful sky now. We got the clouds again, a little less detailed from this far down. I'm sure if I were to fly a little higher, we'd have some more shadowing effect, but nonetheless, a lot of fun. I could have been using atmospheric autopilot for this. In my test flights, I actually had some pretty good luck having it hover 42 meters above the ground. However, one slight hill with a palm tree on it ended our path entirely, so I decided I should just rely on my own piloting skills. It may not be as consistent, but at least I have a little more control. At this point, I've been flying for so long that I decided to have myself a little fun right at the very end, right when our fuel comes out. We're going fairly fast, so I decided to pitch up a little bit, give myself a little bit of altitude so I have a little more room to control where I land. I have a little bit better view on my surroundings, but it also slows me down a little bit. Because after all, we are going to need to land correctly. There are no parachutes on this plane. We can't just come into a stall and land vertically. We will have to kick out our landing gears, find ourselves a location, and come to a complete stop, all while not hitting a single tree. Yeah, that's the perils of playing with collision, but I love the challenge of it. You know, on other celestial bodies like the Mun in regular Kerbal, and here I can't wait to try to land on the moon with all those moon rocks. But here we need to look for a landing strip. As you see, there are some certain spots that are less populated than others, but this one over here to the right is the closest one that I actually will feel comfortable making it to. So I am going to have to do pretty hard banking maneuver, which does actually cut our speed considerably, which is good because I am actually quickly running out of runway here, and I'm soon going to be heading back into the thick of the trees. It's kind of fun to see some rocks here. I didn't know that those rocks were part of the scatter, so that's interesting to see. Not having a lot of luck. Those big wall of trees right there seem to be standing in my way. I throw on my brakes so that way as soon as we touch down we can start slowing down. Nearly clip my wing off. I have this nice little meadow, and we touch down safely. Not out of the woods yet, no pun intended. We shut down our engine and kind of pull up on our wings. Thankfully, we slow down well enough. I would be wise to throw some air brakes on here the moment that I unlock them, but other than that, I am very happy with how that went out. I had a lot of fun just flying a plane for no other reason than to fly, not to just hold a specific speed and then physics warp and then land and then, you know, get a specific height and then physics warp and land. You know, having a little more fun. I think we're going to explore a little bit. We made it a good decent ways across the state, somewhere around here, but not as far as we could be. Got 21 days for it, though. It was interesting enough of a mission, so we're going to now spend some of our money, hard-earned money, on some scientists to get our early science and material science going faster. And while we're going to do that, we're going to launch the bumper rocket that we had built in the queue in the last episode. This was the safety rocket, just in case the rocket that we had built for the mission ended up failing in some way. The engine stuttered out, or if we didn't reach our desired altitude, or whatever it is, this was going to be our backup. But we successfully completed that mission pretty easily, so there was no need for a backup. But rather than scrapping it, you know, we would have gotten some money, but we had also spent all that time building it, spent all those parts. So instead, we are actually going to head polar. We are going to go north at a 0-degree heading. We're going to slowly pitch over there, and I was under the assumption that I was going to be able to pick up a little bit of science, a little residual telemetry data, or, you know, thermometer data, barometer data, whatever, from the fact that rather than going over the ocean, we would be going over land masses, specifically different biomes. However, I was thinking of the film camera. That is the one where you can send it over different biomes and produce different stuff. So unfortunately, I was mistaken. So there's not even a lick of science to be made from this launch. I was quite disappointed to see that, but you know what? That's why it's a free launch. You know, we had this rocket. It was all ready to go out on the launch pad. I mean, what else are you gonna do with it, right? But nonetheless, you know, we have our science up. I bring up the missions and I show you that we are indeed going downrange, but we don't have a sounding payload on this. So even if by, you know, some miracle this thing managed to make 5,000 kilometers, which it won't. But even if so, we didn't have the sounding payload on there, so it wouldn't have satisfied the contract anyways. So nonetheless, it's always nice to get a view of those clouds. But we are reaching the end of our fuel. We're going to take a quick little peek at our engine bell as it flames out. And there we go. We're going to kick off our top. Since it doesn't matter, we don't need to carry the full weight of the rocket. I like the look of just this nose cone anyways. Well, we're going to pitch ourselves up and watch our probe come back down to the surface of the Earth, somewhere near the Michigan area, I believe. It's kind of nice to see little lights on the on the from the cities and stuff. I wonder if it would be fully illuminated at night. I've yet to see that. But anyways, we are time warping forward. Like I mentioned, no science to be gained, but we do have enough electricity that could have. Cloud layer comes in as we get closer to the atmosphere. We get to see the fluffy textures of those volumetric clouds. I want to say thank you again to the helpful commenter who asked a question. I responded in the comments, but I'll just kind of point out here for anyone else, the difference between Sol Beta volumetric clouds and RSS Reborn volumetric clouds is Sol Beta has a little bit more better handling of the three-dimensional aspect and has a lot more shadows than the RSS Reborn, which has a much better clouds than the typical RSS. But I wasn't satisfied with only 2 free flights, so we are going to get our intrepid pilot Reinhold Krauss out, who's quickly becoming an ace, out on the runway yet again. We're just going to do a little bit more aerobatic maneuvers. I want to kind of hit that building over there, come around it, loop around back, and land on the runway. Just as kind of a final way to close out, something pretty to look at that wasn't just bumper rocket launched into Michigan. So I love how easily this plane takes off from the runway. Very easy. All you need is like somewhere to the tune of like 70 meters per second, and it just wants to lift off. But we are flying early morning due to in thanks to the early bird mod, which allows us to choose how early we want the warp to sunrise to pick, and I always like having it warp a little bit less than standard game so we can get these nice early dawn shots. But anyways, here comes the maneuver. Let's go ahead and flip ourselves around it, or something close to that. Reinhold, you okay? I'm sure you're probably a little bit sick here, but no, he seems perfectly happy, perfectly contented in the fact that he did not die. As you see in the top, this is not a simulation. This was indeed for real. So we are going to have to be a little more careful, of course, but nonetheless, I really enjoyed the flying aspect here. I think I am going to work on contracts with the rockets, but I think I may take a little time, not try to focus so much on the rush of meeting history's actual milestones, and we may try to make a long-range plane in the next one and see how far we can fly. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more RP1. If you did think about subscribing, drop me a like, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.